I left the university before dusk, without ceremony and without farewell. The lectures, the debates, the endless theories, they had already begun to feel like relics of a softer age. The king had given me a task. By the time I reached the east wing, the air had changed. It was thicker there, heavy with coal smoke and the bitter tang of sulphur. The streets narrowed, the light dimmed, and the noise of industry swallowed thought itself. It was here, among iron and steam, that the old arts had always belonged. And it was here that I would find what I needed. I was not searching for a servant. I was searching for an instrument. I had spent the last 24 hours chasing dockside rumors and studying the output logs of the city's foundries. I was not searching for a torturer. I needed a craftsman, someone fluent in the language of limits, a man who could feel the exact moment a thing was about to break. That search led me here, to the soot-choked bowels of Lloyd & Sons Engineering. It was the kind of hour reserved for the desperate, the indebted, and those who had nothing left to lose. The workshop was a cathedral of noise. I moved through it like a ghost in my charcoal coat, unnoticed beneath the roar of the furnaces. For the first hour, I did nothing but watch. Most of the men were brutes, hammer-swinging, rhythm-bound, their movements driven by force rather than thought. They worked with a sloppy, gin-soaked aggression that would have ruined a delicate subject in minutes. Then I reached the far end of the facility, where the air grew thick with scorched iron and the high-pressure hiss of escaping steam. And there, I saw him. A young man, stripped to the waist like most of others, yet somehow set apart. He did not curse when the metal resisted. He did not strike it with blind force. Instead, he leaned in close, his grease-stained fingers tracing the seams of the machine with a quiet, clinical precision. He moved differently, economically, deliberately. It was a kind of control I had not seen since the old days. I watched him for a long time, the orange glare of the furnace catching the soot on his brow. And when he adjusted a valve with the delicacy of a watchmaker, I knew. I had found my man. A cluster of senior mechanics had gathered around a shuddering steam regulator, their faces lined with exhaustion and something worse, uncertainty. I watched them from the edge of the light, my hands resting on the head of my cane. They moved in frantic bursts, a chorus of noise and contradiction.
"The gauge is at critical,"
one shouted, jabbing a finger at the trembling needle.
"Shut it down before the old block goes up."
"We can't shut it down,"
another snapped, wiping sweat from his brow.
"The governor will have our heads if the pressure drops. Tighten the secondary valve."
Their panic filled the space, but not his. The young man I had noticed earlier stood among them, yet apart. While the others scrambled, he remained perfectly still, as if the chaos simply did not concern him. His heavy leather apron hung from his shoulders like armor, his posture relaxed but precise. He wasn't watching the gauge, he wasn't watching the men. He was listening. His head tilted slightly, as if the machine was speaking to him in a language only he understood. In the middle of noise, he had found silence.
"It's not the valve."
His voice was quiet, but it cut clean through the noise. Not louder, just certain. The sound of a man who did not guess, a man who knew. The senior mechanic, grey-bearded, thick-handed, turned on him at once.
"And what would you know, boy?"
he snapped.
"You've been here 6 months. Get back to the coal chutes before I have Lloyd throw you out with the rest of the scrap."
"Leave him, Miller,"
another muttered.
"Jan's got a feel for the machines, even if he is strange."
Jan. The name fit him. Sharp, functional. He didn't react to the insult. He simply stepped forward. The others shifted without realizing it, the circle opening to let him through. He removed his glove. Then, without hesitation, he placed his bare hand against the intake housing. Not on the hottest seam, but just beside it, where the vibration traveled cleanest through the metal. The pipe trembled under pressure, heat radiating through the casing, enough to blister an untrained hand. He didn't flinch. His eyes closed slightly, not in pain, but in concentration. He wasn't watching the gauges. He wasn't watching the men. He was feeling the machine.
Pressure is holding,
He said at last, almost to himself.
but the cycle is wrong.
His fingers shifted a fraction, following the pulse.
The third piston is slightly lagging on the return stroke.
He murmured.
You're getting interference in the motion.
He opened his eyes.
It's not a valve failure.
A small pause.
It's resonance.
Another beat. Quieter still.
She's not breaking. She's out of tune.
Nonsense.
Miller snapped, though he had already taken a step back.
Look at the needle. It's in the red.
The needle is reacting to the vibration,
Jan said calmly.
not the pressure.
He didn't raise his voice. He didn't look at the man. He stepped closer to the regulator and leaned into the housing, his movements unhurried, exact. The machine shuddered beneath his hand, the rhythm uneven now that you knew how to listen for it. Jan reached past the primary assembly, ignoring the valves the others had been arguing over, and found a small adjustment screw along the drive linkage, a detail no one else had noticed. The mechanics went still. Some of them took a half step back. If he was wrong, the system would surge. He turned the screw. Not much, barely a fraction. The effect was immediate. The violent rattle collapsed into a steady, even pulse. The strain vanished from the frame. The hiss of escaping steam softened, then settled into a controlled, measured release. The machine exhaled, and the workshop fell quiet. The men stared at the regulator, then at one another, and finally at him. Not with relief, with something sharper. They resented him for it, for seeing what they had missed, for making it look simple. Miller cleared his throat, forcing the authority back into his voice.
Fine.
He muttered.
Back to work then.
A pause.
And don't start thinking this makes you a master.
Jan didn't answer. He wiped his reddened hand on his apron and turned back to his workbench, as if nothing of consequence had happened. He did not look at them. He did not wait for approval. He was already elsewhere, lost in the logic of the next problem. I stepped deeper into the shadows, a slow smile forming. It wasn't just his skill that interested me. It was the isolation. He already stood apart from them, judged, misunderstood, resented for a talent they could neither match nor explain. A man who understood the breaking point, standing among those who only understood rules. Perfect, I thought. He does not need to be taught how to ignore a scream. He already knows how to hear what lies beneath it.